You're about to hear a most amazing story about a man who, while ice climbing, fell 125 feet down a ravine, had to be airlifted out by helicopter to a hospital, where the medical community, because of his severe multiple injuries, had practically written him off, and told him that if he did survive, he would probably be an invalid. In an act of desperation, to save his life, they wanted to amputate his foot below the ankle. By using the Edgar Cayce remedies, the various oils and packs, not only were they able to heal his multiple injuries and save his foot, but he won a New York State tree climbing championship a year later. The story you were about to hear, given by Brian and Colleen Krozak, can only be described as miraculous.
Hi, my name is Brian Krozak. This is my wife, Colleen. I am a certified arborist, tree climber as a profession. I'm also a 3-time New York State tree climbing champion, so I compete as well. My wife owns a flower shop and is a massage therapist. And we're here to tell you a story about an accident I had back in 2008, March 1st, 2008. I fell about 100 feet off of a frozen waterfall while ice climbing.
You were in Naples, New York?
Yeah, Naples, New York. When I fell and hit, I never lost consciousness the whole time. When I fell, I hit twice on the way down, landing on my feet twice on ice ledges, and then slid out at the end. Sat right up, looked at my partner. He came scurrying over to me, wondering what the heck just happened. I was conscious. We were both freaking out. I know I wanted to get up and walk out of there. He was like going to take my crampons off and everything, and I'm like, no, I'm all right. I need to walk out of here. And thank God for my partner. He had a good sense about him. He just said no. He laid me back, put my coat around me, kind of packed me in tight on the ice, took my crampons off, which are spikes that go on the end of the boot, and called 911, which, thank God, his phone worked in this gully we were in, and got the call out to 911.
He had to leave you to make sure that the rescue team knew where to come, because It was a very isolated area, and that's when you started getting nervous.
Yeah, Jeremy had to leave. There was really only one way in for the rescue workers, and it was to hike up the frozen creek bed. So he had to leave me to go find them, so they knew where they were going. So it was about 20 minutes. And that probably was the scariest moment I would have ever experienced. Because I didn't know the extent of my injuries. I didn't know anything. I knew I was alive and I was laying there. But I assumed I had internal bleeding. And all that was going through my head was, I'm not going to make it out of here. That's it. I'm like, I know this is going to be a long rescue. I'm not even going to make it to the hospital. I was thinking about my wife, Colleen, was thinking about everything, just didn't know if I was going to make it out and be alive. Finally, I saw Jeremy coming back up with the rescue workers. There was probably 8 or 10 firefighters with him. It was a sigh of relief, because at least I know I wasn't going to be by myself anymore. And at that point, they took my vitals, took my blood pressure, which they said my blood pressure was close to normal, took my oxygen levels, they said those were close to normal, which automatically eased my mind, because they said if you do have internal bleeding, it's minimal. Strapped me to the backboard, and the rescue took about 2 hours. They had to hoist me up. They had Mercy Flight land back on top of where we started climbing, and they had to hoist me up using a 5-to-1 mechanical advantage, hoist me back up the waterfall I just fell off of to the top where Mercy Flight was.
So it was you and 2 other men attached to the board
Right.
to get you up to make sure you got up safely
Right.
and didn't do any more damage.
Right.
And after he was about halfway up is when they called me to tell me that he'd had an accident, and that I should probably have someone drive me there to meet him at Strong Memorial Hospital. And he was being mercy flighted from Naples to Strong, where when I arrived there, which I beat him there, they tried to put me into a little room where they put families that are going to meet with a priest or someone that could prepare them for what they're about to see. And I told them I didn't want to go in there I wasn't ready for that, and it wasn't
room's not for me.
That room's not for me, I kept telling him. So Brian did finally arrive, and the helicopter did not want to fly that day. It was terribly snowy and
It was dangerous to fly.
dangerous to fly, and the pilot said, I'm going to get him there. I'm going to fly. And he finally arrived just shortly after I did, and they brought him in. And they had no idea what his injuries were, but they did know that he was stable.
And I remember saying to you, you met me right off the landing pad.
Right at the landing pad.
And I looked at you and I was apologizing up and down. I'm like, I think I sprained my right ankle.
Yep. And I said, okay, don't worry. He said, and they cut my new coat off, my new North Face jacket. They cut it off. I said, that's okay. We don't have to worry about that. And they quickly, started to check him over, and slowly, one injury after another, the list started to get long. Your injuries included?
I broke both my ankles, fractured my pelvis, broke 5 ribs, and fractured 2 vertebrae in my back. I also bruised my bladder,
Tore a carotid artery.
tore a carotid artery, and there was probably some soft tissue damage up and down.
Your knees. Yeah.
Right knee. I think that was the extent of it. Oh, and they said I basically had some sort of paralysis in my face. When I would smile, only one side would go up, the other, there was just nothing there. So I had some nerve damage in my face. I definitely hit my head on that fall. And
Your helmet really
my
did.
helmet, yeah, kind of, obviously saved my life, having the helmet on, but had, I guess, wreaked some havoc up in the area.
So we got to the hospital, and we shortly found out all his injuries, and they casted him up. They wanted to do surgery on his right foot ankle because they said that it was so bad that the blood flow was going to be a problem.
There's a main artery that goes through the bone,
and
the
his talus bone, and that the best thing for him would be to take it, so he didn't have to worry about any of those problems. And I questioned can you even see it that well on the X-ray? It's so swollen, and why would we do this? And their answer was that they had the best surgeon in Rochester.
When you say take it,
Yeah.
what do you mean take it?
They wanted to amputate his ankle to his foot off
Okay.
to secure that there wouldn't be any sort of blood flow issue or blood clotting, or so they.
I shattered the talus bone on my right ankle.
Terribly, and they said that there's no way they could reset it to ever make it heal. And I asked why tonight, why can't we wait till tomorrow to see when the swelling goes down, and they said we have the best surgeon on tonight. That was their answer for why we should do it. But they didn't do it, and they casted both of his ankles, his back. They weren't 100% on the pelvis at that point, being fractured because of the swelling.
It wasn't until 2 weeks after they re-x-rayed me.
To
So I said my pelvis just really hurts. I don't think I complained much about all the other injuries, except my pelvis hurt, and that was the one thing nobody told us anything about. So they re-x-rayed me and found out that it was fractured. They couldn't see that in the beginning.
It was just too much swelling
Right.
with everything. So his for the first week we didn't do much by way of actual packs or anything. It was just more positive thinking because he was so casted from pretty much head to toe.
I think right from the hospital though, I remember that first night when I got to the hospital, probably it was about noon, and I think it was like midnight when I finally made it to my room and got off the backboard.
Right.
But that next day, I remember just the positive thinking. It's not me. Nothing's going to stop me. This is just a hiccup in the road. This is nothing. I'm going to get better. And I was in the hospital for 5 days, and I think just right from the start, positive energy and positive thinking made everything a lot easier. So I think right from day one we started that. And friends and family that came in to see us just brought, I believe brought good positive energy with them, which I'm very, very thankful for because it definitely aided. But it wasn't until we got home from the hospital and sorted through everything that was going on. Colleen's sister and my brother-in-law let us stay at their house for my recovery. So we were adjusting to all of that.
Because we could fit a hospital bed in their area, and it was more handicap accessible because they said he'd be in a wheelchair for quite a while, if he was ever to even walk again. And so we stayed there until we could get adjusted. Our house was just not set up for that. So we moved our dog and everybody right in.
I think it was after, so that about maybe another week's time or so to get adjusted and to mentally grasp onto what we're faced with here is when we actually, once we conquered that, we actually started in with some more aggressive techniques, I guess.
We weren't able to get to his ankles right away because they were hard casted, but his back brace could come off. Right away we started with massage, even to the areas, just to get some circulation going. We also started, as soon as his one ankle cast came off and he went to a walking cast, we started right away with the castor oil packs. We went to the castor oil packs immediately on his pelvis, which helped right away actually with the face. You started to see a lot of his face starting to heal up. As his pelvis would start to heal, his face would start to heal.
An acupuncturist said we were curious as to how that was being affected, and her thoughts were that your nervous system flows right through the center of your pelvis. And I basically separated my pelvis and fractured it. So it disrupted that flow.
Mm-hmm.
So she's like, she told us if you can, repair your pelvis, get it back to a healthy pelvis, I guess, that everything else should fall back in line and repair itself.
We started noticing that was one of the first things we saw to heal was his face, the first physical, and then the pelvis. The pelvis hurt you for quite a while, but it was definitely healing. So started with the packs right on the pelvis, I would say daily. And even when I wasn't able to put it on him, he would keep it right in the plastic bag and lay it on himself.
I had nothing else to do besides lay there days on end. So I took this castor oil packet, even in the plastic bag, and I had it on some body part.
All the time.
All the time.
Knee.
Just rotating it through, I could take my back brace off as long as I was laying down, so I would just lay on the packet. I would just let it sit on my lap. I would put it on my ankle. I think I actually maybe even draped it over. I had a hard cast on my right leg. I may have just draped it over the cast, even. My theory was, why not?
Yep. Nothing but time on your hands.
Nothing but time on my hands. And I think another big thing I did was visualization. Again, I had nothing to do but think about what was happening. So I took every part that I knew of that was damaged and actually picture it in my mind and will it to heal itself and actually envision bones fusing back together.
It was
and
huge.
just telling my body to heal.
It was great that he got to see his x-rays. They would show them to him and he would watch it. And he would picture that x-ray and he'd picture everything just coming back together.
And I did that many times a day, just as much as I could. Again, I had nothing else to do besides focus on getting better. And there was no other option in my mind. I was going to get better. And my attitude, I guess, was if they're going to take my ankle or my foot, go ahead. You're not going to stop me from doing what I want to do.
Right.
It just, nothing was going to, I'm going to live my life and be healthy again.
Yeah.
So,
What were the other packs that you did, and the massage oils that you used?
So once the cast all eventually started coming off, and that was everything but the right ankle at this point, we would pack his left ankle, his right knee, his pelvis, his back in the apple cider vinegar and kosher salt. We did that usually in about a 3-day rotation, approximately. We tried to do multiples at once, just pure ease. So we would do his left ankle, his right knee, and his pelvis all at once. And we'd do that for 3 days on, and then we'd stop. I did massage pretty much from day one, even just to massage his head and his scalp, everything. And I used a lot of the Egyptian oil for that. His back, I didn't do much deep work. It was really just soft, barely even effleurage. It was more just even moisturization of the skin. But I feel that the oils were very beneficial for pretty much everything. I didn't get massage anything in the area of his carotid artery that really scared me, but we did do packs of the castor oil on his neck. That healed up great. That's the only thing we still get checked periodically to make sure there's no scar tissue building up there. And they say everything's great. The doctors did tell us that when he finally did get his right ankle cast off, that it was, well, we're going to do surgery, or are we going to try to get it better? And the doctor did say, he said, I can't set that any better than it's set. the way that it's healing, I couldn't do surgery to set that better. And several times, you know, Strong is a teaching hospital, and several times we had students come in and out, and as they would do their different phases, and people that actually started out with him in the emergency ended up coming back in to see him about 6 months later in the orthopedics, and saw him, and they did say, take a good look at this, because you're not going to see it again. And my thought was, why won't we see it again? You know, it's a miracle, but miracles happen every day.
And so many things are possible.
So many things. But we did do packs. I would say at some point during the healing, every day there was a pack of some kind on some body part. And as crazy as it sounds, there was just so many areas to cover that we would maybe do the ankle for 5 or 6 days. And that was really the focus, I would say, the ankles. 5 or 6 days of the castor oil packs on, and then we would keep it off for 2 to 3. And then sometimes he would just randomly, again, throw the plastic bag. If I was at work for the whole day, he would just throw the pack, even in the plastic, right on his ankle.
I had that with me. It was on my nightstand right next to that didn't leave my side. I had that with me always.
Yeah. And you feel that as you went to the doctors, and the doctors were shocked at how quickly you were recovering, it wasn't just, I'm going to walk again, it was, I'm going to climb again. And not ice climb, tree climb.
No ice climbing, the tree climbing.
How long did they say he'd be in the wheelchair?
At first it was, they really had no answers for us, but they were thinking 6 months to a year was as it would shift down. And he was back climbing 6 months to the day of his accident.
Trees.
Yeah. So everybody thought it was an absolute miracle that he was even alive, let alone how well he had healed, to the point that, I mean, every day we say that your healing is still happening. And
It's
I think
still happening, right?
every day we care for it. He still uses his roll-on castor oil and his roll-on Egyptian oil, and he has aches and pains.
Sure. But I guess it's how you look at it. You know, I'm almost 40 years old. Of course, I'm going to have aches and pains, you know? So, you know, and for what I do for a living, but I never once think, you know, oh, that's from my accident, or look down upon it or anything. I'm happy to be almost 100% back to where I am. And how I kind of base that is, like I said before, I'm a 3-time New York State tree climbing champion. One of those championships came 14 months after the accident. So in my mind, it wasn't just about getting back to tree climbing and everything, but if I could do that, if I could win a championship, then everything else in my life will be in order.
You could have, it wasn't about the actual physical climbing, it was about him having his life back. And every day he would really focus, and I think a lot of it was faith. He never lost sight of what he wanted, which was to have his life back. And a very smart person told me once, there's no accidents in life, that everything happens for a reason, and I truly believe it did, because so many people learned so much from Brian's accident, and we certainly learned how much we were loved, and how really having a positive attitude, visualization, using a whole slew of modalities, but massage and the Edgar Cayce remedies, and with a positive attitude, you can really make anything happen.
Okay. And one other thing that came of all of this was, I think they said, you know, after my accident, you know, I'm lucky to be alive, but they also said that there was, at this time we hadn't had any kids, and they told me not to maybe get any hopes up for the future, because they didn't really know the extent of my injuries, or, you know, things,
Right.
I could have problems. But we're happy to say that we now have a 2-year-old daughter,
Yep.
and she's awesome.
Yeah, she is. She's a
And
climber.
she'll never believe this story, so I saved all the paper clippings.
Yeah, we did.
So,
Okay.
I think,
Thank you very much for sharing this.
no problem.
You're welcome.
Thank you.